Howdy everybody, it's Monster and I'm back again with a brand new headphone review. Today we're going to be discussing a just on the market, brand new product called the Taction Kannon. These are a unique headphone in as much as not only are they a pair of headphones as you can see, but they've also got a built-in tactile transducer in each cup, providing insane amounts of bass slam and rumble. And that is controlled by this little handheld controller here that's got two knobs on it. You can see that. And one of them controls the microphone volume, and the other one controls how much bass you allow these things to put out. So we're going to discuss these headphones today, what I like about them, what I don't like about them, what you can expect for the $500 price tag of these headphones. So let's start out with a little history. These came out on Kickstarter back in the, I believe it was the winter of 2016. And I joined up in April of 2016 after seeing some reviews of prototypes and reading some brief impressions of them. I said, okay, let's do this. And so I went ahead and plunked down my cash, and 20 months later, these arrived on my front door just 2 days ago. There's been a couple other headphones, gaming headsets, mediocre quality products in the past that have tried to incorporate tactile transducer technology into a headphone. And for those of you who don't understand why you would need such a thing, essentially you're dealing with a pair of headphones, any headphone, for the most part. You've got one driver here and one driver here. And unlike a speaker, which can have 3, 5, 8, 10, 15, 20 drivers, even more if you want to spend a lot of money, each doing individual frequencies. You got tweeters doing the highs, you got, 8-inch whatever doing the mids, and you got subwoofers doing the bass. Headphones, you've got one driver on each side trying to do all the frequencies at the same time. And what happens is people are oftentimes underwhelmed by the bass response that they get from headphones. They are expecting this cavity-filling, shaking rumble that they get at a rock concert or from their car systems. And you just can't get that kind of bass reproduction out of a pair of headphones. Because what happens is when you turn up the bass, the rest of the sound, the mids and the highs typically go to shit. And even then, you're still going to crank it way up loud, and then you got to EQ, 20 hertz, 40 hertz, 65 hertz, 100 hertz. You got to jack all that up, and it ruins the sound. So what they decided to do was to tune these headphones as neutral as they could, and then add in these vibrating transducers to do the heavy lifting for the bass. So you don't need to EQ the shit out of it. You don't need to crank up the volume per se. You can just turn up the power of the transducer and get as much bass or as little bass as you want. So it's a pretty unique design, and for the most part, it works pretty damn good. Now, what you got to understand about me before I get into my full-blown review of these headphones is, first of all, I'm not a bass head. All right? I'm not an audiophile, but I'm not a bass head. I like bass, but I'm not a bass head. A bass head is somebody who cares about bass before they care about everything else. If anything, I'm a mid head. All right? So understand that. Second of all, if you watch some of my other videos, you'll know that I'm a metalhead too. I don't listen to hip hop. I don't listen to rap. a lot of your genres that are bass-centric styles. I do not listen to that much. I do listen to some reggae occasionally. I do listen to Sibient occasionally. I'll listen to some old Goa or psychedelic trance or deep trance. All that has bass, but most of the time I'm listening to rock or metal or blues. Okay? And there's not a tremendous amount of bass going on in a lot of that music. There's kick drums, but you're not getting that deep diving 30 hertz, 35 hertz, 20 hertz going all the way down. You don't get that in metal. So keep that in mind as you listen to what I'm about to tell you about these headphones. The comfort of the Taction Kannon.Is are okay. I wouldn't say that they're great. I wouldn't say that they're uncomfortable. They are okay. They have a bit of a clamp to them. And the weight kind of sits right on top of your dome as opposed to being spread out here. So when I say clamp, I'm not talking about HD 600 clamp. They're not. It's not a vice destroying your skull. So don't get me wrong. They're not going to kill you. But I've felt more comfortable headphones in my time. In addition, the cups are a bit. The inside of the cups are a bit narrow. I've got very small ears, and my ears barely fit in there, and I can kind of feel the sides of the cups. So I'll give the comfort on these on a scale of 1 to 10 about a 6. The build quality, these feel very sturdy. They're very nice looking. They've got individual serialized medallions on either cup. This particular pair is $187, and the carrying case that they come in also has the serialized medallion on it as well, right here. $187, so it's a matching set. And with your headphones, you also get your cable that you plug into your amp or your phone. You get a little microphone here that goes in line, so you can game with these. And you also get a USB wall wart charger. And then you get a Y splitter cable. I'm not really sure what that's for yet, but I'll figure it out eventually. And then you get your handy dandy little user buyer guide. So it's a nice presentation. I like the way they did the presentation on these. How do these sound? Remember, I'm not a bass head, okay? But if you are a bass head, you need to buy these, because these destroy any bass-centric headphone out there when it comes to bass. I used to have a pair of the JVC SC2000s, which by all accounts are the #1 headphone in the world for bass. I absolutely hated the SC2000s, and I did EQ them. Everybody says, "Oh, you need to EQ them." I did, and I got ridiculous amounts of bass from those headphones. It was stupid amounts of bass. Unfortunately, the mids were atrocious, the highs were atrocious, and I couldn't listen to what I like to listen to with them. If I just wanted to listen to Dr. Dre or Snoop Dogg or Eminem or whoever, then I guess they're great. But I never listened to that shit, okay? I listened to stuff with guitars and real instruments and actual singing, and the SC2000s just don't do that kind of music well. These, on a pure bass-to-bass level, these are better than the SC2000s. You don't need to EQ these. You don't need to destroy your hearing by cranking up the volume. You don't need a heavy-duty amp. You can plug these right into your phone. The other night, I plugged them into an Astro Mixamp Pro 2013. And I was trying out Destiny on PlayStation 4. And I'll get into the gaming aspect in a bit, but an Astro Mixamp Pro drives these louder than you'll ever want them to go. So these are very easy to drive. The SE2000s aren't. The SE2000s, you need an amp. You need an EQ that goes down pretty low. You need to swap pads. You need to do all this shit to get the SE2000s to get the maximum amount of bass out of those. You don't need to do that with these, okay? So if it's just bass you're interested in, you need to go out and buy the Taction Cannons yesterday, okay? Period. These are the new king. And the guy who started the Basshead thread on HeadFi, he says they are the new king of Basshead. So if you don't believe me, believe him, okay? The problem with these is not the bass. The problem with these is the mids and the highs, like the SE2000s. Just not as bad as the SE2000s, okay? So, and this is where I'm having a problem, because I guess in retrospect, I shouldn't have had expected as much from these headphones as I did. I was expecting a reference class, audiophile class headphone with the added bonus of absolutely destructive bass reproduction. And I didn't get that. What I got was, I got the bass, but if you turn the transducer off and just listen to the headphone, it's pretty crappy sounding. I'm sorry, I don't know how else to put it. I'm just being honest, what I hear. The mids, they don't reproduce vocals great. There's a lot of glare. On some songs, it's the mids, upper mids sound a bit shouty. The highs, they're just like, it's like an afterthought. Not quite as much of an afterthought as the SE2000s, but pretty close. They are really underwhelming highs. There's very little detail. So they're not sibilant because there's hardly any highs. It's just kind of like there. So you don't really make out details too well. The sound stage on these is narrow for a closeback. These are closeback headphones. For a closeback, these are narrow. There's no sense of space whatsoever. Everything is between your head. Imaging is average, slightly below, which goes back to gaming. If you're a first-person shooter guy and you're competitive, don't. These are gonna disappoint you most likely. For single-person games, or for the casual first-person shooter, just like goofing around, these are epic. For movies, these are fucking epic. For action movies, lots of guns or explosions, whatever. These are fucking epic. These just, it's like a howitzer going off right beside your skull, and every time, if you're playing, I was playing Destiny the other night, and every time I pulled the trigger, it was like my head was getting slammed every single time, and it was like, wow. And I only had the tactile transducer up to 5, which is halfway. I wouldn't even want to do 10 because it would get painful. It would be like, okay, that's too much. So even at 5, it was really interesting, new, novel way to video game. But because of its narrow sound stage and because of its average at best imaging, you're not really picking up where enemies are. I had an alien shooting at me, and I was taking hits, and I could hear the gunfire, but I couldn't quite pick up where it was coming from. Now, my normal headphones that I use for gaming are the Fidelio X1s, which are also known for having good bass and are not known for being the best choice for competitive first-person shooters. But I'm an old man. I'm not trying to go pro here. I'm just having a good time, and so I use the X1s. And the X1s, for me, do the job. They don't have the bass that these do, but they got good bass. But on the X1s, I can tell where enemies are coming from. I can hear it. It's coming from this way, and I just turn that way, and I shoot the enemy, and it's done. With these, I was getting hit and hit and hit, and I finally figured out where the enemy was coming from. But just for immersion value, these are unsurpassed. So you need to weigh the pros and cons. What's more important to you? Being able to pinpoint where enemies are hitting you from, these will disappoint you. If you just want to feel like you're actually holding a gun, and yeah, these are epic. So, okay, so we've already discussed for gaming and amping. Let's talk about genres of music that these go with, and this is going to be a short section because it should be fairly apparent to you what types of music these go good with. Hip-hop, reggae, trance, maybe Sybian. That's what I listened to yesterday and enjoyed. I was listening to some older blues from the 50s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and those old recordings are not the best recordings. And oftentimes they come out sounding very bass-like. These can add a little bit of bass to an otherwise bass-light sounding song. So some older, poorly recorded stuff, these can help out a little bit. For rock music, I was getting that tactile transducer going on. Fleetwood Mac Hypnotize. It starts off with that cool little drum intro, and you could feel it. You could feel that do 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 do. And that was cool. I listened to some Pink Floyd. I listened to some Eagles. I listened to a lot of your, just classic rock. And I was getting that thump where otherwise on a normal pair of headphones you would not have a thump. But the rest of the reproduction, compared to what I already own, wasn't very good. And so it was a trade-off. What's more important to me? Feeling that thump and having a mediocre across-the-board sound? Or, okay, I'll give up a little bit of thump in classic rock and metal for everything else. And for me, it's having a little bit of thump isn't that important to me. I like it. And I have headphones that'll do it and still give me great mids and great highs. These give me insane bass, but mediocre mids, mediocre highs. And to me, it's not a good trade-off for the type of music that I prefer. I listen to some mellow death with these. And what I was finding was that the transducer wasn't decaying quick enough to keep up with the tempo of the song, and it sounded like it was off tempo a little bit, which was kind of strange. Another thing that I noticed about these, which I guess is inherent to the technology, is that all the bass feels the same. So what that means is, for example, I listen to some Black Sabbath. Heaven and Hell, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. And Bill Ward's bass drum felt the same against my skull as a synthetic bass kick in Dr. Dre's anything that, Little Ghetto Boy is what I listened to last night. And so Little Ghetto Boy, that thump, felt the same against my head as Black Sabbath's thump. And that's kind of strange. But I get it, because it's not a speaker reproducing the bass. It's a transducer. So that's a little quirk that I was not expecting, but I get it. These are currently going for $499.99 on the Taction Technology website, and they're claiming that you have a 30-day wait from the time that you order them until the time that you get them. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's longer or shorter. I don't know. I know it took me 20 months to get my pair of Tactions. And that concerns me a bit, because this is new technology, and we've got moving parts in this headphone that you wouldn't normally have to contend with in regular headphones. And when you have new technology and moving parts, things can and will go wrong. Now, I'm not suggesting that these are poorly made. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that this is a new technology with extra parts that most headphones don't have. And if something were to go wrong, how long is it going to take me before, when I send these headphones back, to get them fixed and returned to me? That concerns me. Now, I have not read anything about that. I have not heard about anybody's Cannons already failing on them. So don't read into what I'm saying here. All I'm saying is what I'm concerned about, because it took a long time to get these headphones for me. And I've got pair 187, so I've got the 187th pair in the world, and it took 20 months to get them. Now, they could be all caught up, and I could send them in on Saturday and get them back the following Saturday. I don't know. But I'm just going by what my experience with these headphones has been thus far, and with the owner, who seems like a great guy. He seems like a very nice, well-meaning guy. He's developed some really cool headphones, but he has left his Kickstarter backers in the dark for extended periods of time. There's been long bouts of radio silence, if you will, and there was a couple times there where, my wife would come in and she'd say, do you think you're ever going to get these headphones? And I'd look at her and go, I don't know. I don't know. I think I will. And that concerns me. But I do have them, and for bass-centric music, these are the real deal. No doubt about it. These are cool for bass-centric music, for non-competitive first-person shooters, for single-player video gaming. These are the real deal. If you love bass and you can live with average or below mids, average or below highs, and you want your skull thumped like even the SC2000s can't do, these are the headphone for you. If you're looking for reference quality music, reference or audiophile quality reproduction of mids and highs, and your bass, unfortunately, these fall a little bit short. I'm kind of bummed, because I was expecting more. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I was expecting too much. And in retrospect, I guess that, with all the R&D and all the technology that went into these for $500, I guess I was expecting too much. I was hoping for, even if they took, like, for example, the V-Moda M100 and put the transducers into those, or, not necessarily the M100 themselves, but took the drivers and made it sound like the M100. That would be fucking epic. If they could do it with an open back design and have this massive wide soundstage like the K702s or the HD800s, the T1s. That would be even better. That would be, I would throw money at the screen. Just here, take my money. Take it, take it. These don't do that. And maybe this is just the baby step. Maybe that this is kind of just like, okay, I'm testing the water to see how this goes. And then, you know, if it's successful, we're going to put it into a higher end model. Maybe that's where they're going with this. I don't know. So that wraps up my review of the Taction Cannons. I like them for bass and bass-centric music. Unfortunately for me, that isn't my primary focus. So I think I'm going to put these up for sale. In fact, they're already up for sale. And I think these are one of the first reviews that you're going to see on these. So, you know, take it for what it's worth. I'm not a bass head, but I know music and I know headphones. So, yeah. If you like bass, buy them. If you like mids and highs, you can do better, especially for $500. Anyway, this is Monster, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for tuning in.